Sorry about that. So these are the 3 schemes produced on Wednesday, and under each scheme are the main concepts. We drilled down to 2 concepts. And over the past 2 months, working with the Charrette, these are the top 10 data ideas we heard from you. And there are many topics about the scale, provide options to address school capacity concerns, establish better neighborhood connections and reduce foot traffic, relocate the library to the center of the community, provide pedestrian connectivity throughout Westbard, in particular between neighborhoods and schools, enhance connectivity between Massachusetts Avenue and River Road, address vehicular and pedestrian conflicts at River Road and the Capitol Crescent Trail, naturalize Willow Branch Stream, preserve and enhance the light industrial uses, and maintain and enhance the community retail and services. This is the existing Westbard area. And these are the 2 concepts. The only difference with these 2 concepts is the over here this does not show any connection. There's a connection here. I'm going to give this over now to Paul Mortensen, our urban designer. Paul?
All right, just to orient everybody, this is River Road. Capitol Crescent Trail that comes down through the site right there and across. You can see it here well. Westbard Avenue is here, coming down to Massachusetts Avenue. And currently, the giant site in the parking lot is right here. Right here is the Park Bethesda and the Westbard Muse, located here. On the other side, this is the Whole Foods site, right there, which looks a little different now in this scheme. So, looking at the 2 schemes, I'll go with the framework plan first. This one, and there's a lot of things that have been discussed over the last week, but also has been discussed over the last 2 months that we have incorporated into the plan. The plan represents basically a conglomeration of the final 2 schemes that we developed last week. Concept 1 and Concept 2. We've taken the heights primarily of Concept 2, which was the less dense concept and the less height concept in the plan. So the big moves, that's the 1. We've also, a couple of the big moves have shown, we moved the library to a new location within the development so that it's centered in the new kind of center of the community, and then that provides potential of a new school site located here. The other large move is the connection in the intersection, the new intersection that is created at River Road and at the Trail Bridge location. The road coming in at this location in front of Ridgewell's, the new, potentially new redeveloped Ridgewell site here. And then the road continuing through on this side all the way up to Westbard Avenue here. You can see the connection there. Now that street has been created for several reasons. One is that to provide access, better access certainly, to the Capitol Crescent Trail, particularly in this location where the access to the road and to the trail would be enhanced, greatly enhanced, to provide access to these back properties, which currently are primarily served by driveways, and to provide another link within the community between Westbard here and River Road down here, or up here, excuse me. The difference in the schemes, the difference in the concept framework plan with the alternate streets are: one, the street connection from the new intersection here under the bridge comes up and then terminates at this location, so it does not connect through to Westbard Avenue, thereby providing some access to these properties, but not allowing any type of connection from Westbard up here other than the main connection to River Road. So that's the primary difference between the two schemes. The other one is this Landy Lane has been moved. Here you can see Landy Lane is located right there. Excuse me, Dorset. That lane has been moved from that location over to the side, separating the school site, allowing for a larger development site here rather than the narrow blocks that are there today, and provides an alternate and another connection between River Road and Little Falls Parkway here, so that there would be a connection through. Those are the two primary differences between the two schemes at this point. Now for some diagrams, and we start to talk about heights, start to talk about the different connections. On the left here is the new diagram, which represents the different heights that we're looking at. In the brown, so the brown color here, and you can see it up here as well. The brown is up to 50 feet in height, up to 50 feet in height. So primarily, most of the giant site, most of the Park Bethesda site, most of these sites down below along Willett Branch, most of the what is existing light industrial sites here and here would remain at a lower height. The blue, we allow up to 75 feet. And again, 75 feet is a number that is pretty common in a construction type where you would have a concrete base, so typically a retail base or a different use on the base of the building, and then wood frame construction, 4 to 5 stories of wood frame construction above the concrete base. That allows you up to the 75-foot height. So 75 feet on both sides of River Road, and 75 feet allowed on the north side at this point of Westbard. The last one is the red. There's two sites for the red. The red would be allowed to be up to 80 feet. So at this location along the edge of the school yard and the driveway, at this location here, would be allowed to be at a higher, up to 80 feet. And at this location, on the entrance from Ridgefield, coming in to Westbard, the new location of the Ridgefield location here, a height of up to 80 feet to allow more height there as sort of a gateway and entry into this area. On the second diagram, the new streets and the civic buildings, I've already indicated the one new street here that connects all the way down to River up to Westbard Avenue here. There's several new streets within the giant site location. There's a street that is right here along the outer edge of the site that is parallel, basically, to the driveway into the condominium site here. There's a new interior grid of streets coming across the site, and then framing a new central civic plaza that would also have the new library located on that site in the plaza here. There'd be a new road over at this side, over Butler Street here with a new connection that would go over to Little Falls Parkway here, which we had talked about last week in several of the schemes. And then we also are providing new trails through with connections that go to the Capitol Crescent Trail. I think I'll show you a little bit more there, and then also it comes through the site here. So the civic buildings, the new civic building, the new school site located at the former library site here. The possibility of some additions to this middle school if required or needed, and the new library location here. The elevation or the height of the buildings, I'll go back to that in a little bit. Let me finish the presentation. The site, of course, is sloping up from Westbard up the hill in this direction. On the next diagram, we wanted to show the open spaces and trails. Certainly, Capitol Crescent Trail is one of our primary amenities, green amenities, that connects into Little Falls Parkway, that is located here. And there, of course, the trail that would be along that, and the trail that would be here as well. We have the school site, the schools sites, and the tree canopy that's located within that area would be primarily maintained, but certainly cleaned up and enhanced where possible. We're showing the potential of a new field located here with new tennis courts located here, so that we would have another field as part of for public recreation and also for the schools. We show the new plaza located here, and then a pedestrian connection that would be enhanced that goes across the small bridge here at Willett Branch and connects into the trail, Capitol Crescent Trail, and the new road there. And then a continuation or a new trail that would go along the Willett Branch pedestrian trail that would link across River Road at the light, and they would continue across and go up the Willett Branch area here, Daylit Branch, up to the Capitol Crescent Trail again in this location. So we enhance by allowing pedestrian connections through that start to link all of the major civic spaces. As far as the land use is concerned, the diagram that you see over here, what it was supposed to be gold, it kind of looks like an olive green, at least for me, right here. This color and the stripes within this area are residential. Those are primarily residential uses, all of these colors here. Where the red comes in is where we would have mixed use, typically residential over retail. So along Westbard and along River Road here, and then along the plaza, so coming back off of Westbard here. So we would have mixed use on both sides of Westbard, both sides of River Road. The purple, so the red location, the red means retail. There are a couple of retail-only buildings that would be located here, lower buildings in front of the residential tower here. The purple would be where we would allow, or where primarily the light industrial would be encouraged to stay. Certainly, we're not going to be kicking out the light industrial that's located throughout this area down below on each side of the Capitol Crescent Trail, but we would encourage it to stay certainly in these locations. And then the blue is the civic for the new school and the new library. So, in looking at the roads and looking at the mixed-use roads that we're talking about, this is a view looking down Westbard behind the giant store. You can see the giant trucks here. The sidewalk on the other side with the surface parking located at this location. The bowling alleys are back here, and you can see a little bit here of the Park Bethesda in the background. One idea of how this street could look in the future with the buildings that we've talked about would be something like this. So looking down, looking at the same view of Westbard, the plaza that would be in front of the library set behind, a new grocery store at the base of this building with residential above the stores here, and then new housing with retail below on the northern side of Westbard as well. Maintaining the 2 lanes of traffic in each direction and allowing at the off-peak hours for parking to occur along the street, and then during the peak hours, during the morning rush hour, during the evening rush hour, the cars would be forced to be removed here, so that you would not be allowed to park along the sides, allowing the 4 lanes of traffic during the rush hours. At River Road, it's currently River Road today, again looking east. This is about at the light right here going into Whole Foods. Over on your left, the nursery is located here. So we are looking at, what's that? This is a photo enhanced with the lighting at 2 o'clock in the morning. So, again, on River, we would allow up to 75 feet of mixed use, and so voila. The idea here would be to enhance the sidewalks on either side, to allow for street trees to be located on each side of the wide street, allow 2 lanes of traffic in each way, plus the turn lanes, plus bike lanes, and then allow the essentially 5 stories of wood frame or light steel gauge stud construction above a retail base on either side. So again, looking east on River Road as a possible future look along this street. When we talked about the new intersection, this is a Capitol Crescent Trail. It's the idea of creating the new street here, 1 lane in each direction, going south. So south is up in this location, but going towards Westbard, and then the connection to the school site and the dance studios and so on to the north. The potential here also, this begins to show the potential of how a boulevard type section could be incorporated into River Road potentially with a treed median running down the center. So looking at a view here with the center median, you can see it the right here, and then the bridge, existing trail bridge with sidewalks and crosswalks down here, and then the potential of a regulated intersection of some sort, whether it's a light, a stop sign, or something, but that would need to be studied further certainly, and determined what type of signaling we would create there. So, some of these drawings, it's the first time I've seen them today, so that's why I'm a little hesitant, but I'll let you know. The numbers, what we've done is we've taken counts using the preferred alternative that we showed you before without the different streets. And then we've created a diagram, and given you numbers here. This is what's existing today within the Westbard site. This shows that under the current zoning that you have today, if it was built out under the current zoning, we would allow, or it would be allowed to have up to 971 new units on top of what's there today. And then what we are proposing within the new development, particularly along River and Westbard, of 1,600 up to 1,900 additional units. No, it's beyond what's existing.
And 1927 total, or plus that?
This, in the end, if the plan that we've drawn was completely realized, every single site was developed as we've shown it. So in the future, whether it's 20 years out or 5 years out, if everybody wanted to build, these are the numbers that would be achieved in addition to what's there today. In addition. So, again, back to the preferred plan. And at this point, we will open it up to questions and comments. And I know we will probably have a lot. And we have a microphone right here in the middle, so feel free to come and ask us questions.
This is a question. In your housing units, is the 1104 the number? This is a traffic question. Is the 1104 the number of units that exist today, or I thought I heard you say if with the current zoning, it would be the total number of people within the current zoning regulations? Do you get that? Repeat it better.
The 1,100 units is what is there today within the boundaries of the Westbard plan.
So is it built,
Today.
are there 1,104 units there now, or that's?
Yes. Yes. They're there now.
By raising the ceiling height on River Road, you are virtually...
Speak up.
In raising the height of the buildings on River Road, you're basically following what's already happened in downtown Bethesda and making it impossible for services such as a gas station to exist. What do you do with gas stations? They're all going to move to Potomac because they're gas stations? Do you have any idea where the gas stations are here besides River Road? Potomac, MacArthur Boulevard by the reservoir. I can't think of any others.
Yes, as I said last week, it is a concern within communities, particularly urban communities, communities that throughout the country that are within, denser areas, and in this case, certainly we're within the Beltway, inside the Beltway. It is a concern about losing gas stations for many reasons. We're not zoning for a gas station. In other words, a zone that allows a gas station. All of the gas stations can stay. So if they own their property, they are allowed to stay. The zoning we do suggest that there would be change in the zoning here, which might encourage them to change the use.
I have a series of traffic-related questions too. I said I have a series of traffic-related questions as well. As I was sitting at the traffic light at Brookside and River this morning, exiting Kenwood and looking at River Road, not what your picture showed, but in fact a parking lot, I proceeded across Westbard as they do to get to Mass Ave. And I recall that you said one of the principles was to better link River, and Mass. The road that you have drawn looks as if it does not go through, and looks like it will make it more difficult. You are going to be creating a great deal more traffic with all of those commercial, with the retail units and the housing units on River Road. So my question is, you're creating so much more traffic. Have you calculated how that will be handled? And for neighborhoods like Springfield and Kenwood, that would be particularly susceptible to cut through traffic, because people will want to avoid the parking lot in Somerset and all the other neighborhoods that will want to avoid the congestion I fear you are creating on River.
Thanks for the question. My name is Matt Fulton. I'm the transportation planner on signing the plan. So we have not run any calculations on the proposed plan that you've seen this evening. What we plan to do from this point is to take the vision, we can test it, we can evaluate what the intersection capacity is, what the trip generation is based on the number of units, square footage of retail, offices, anything like that. That's where we go from this evening on. And we have to maintain all the intersections within the congestion standard established by the county council. So we can certainly lower the vision that we've shown this evening in order to achieve that balance, or identify different transportation improvements to intersections in order to keep traffic moving.
Will that include protecting the neighborhoods?
It does, yes. So the plan that we showed this evening, there are a number of different connections here. There are connections that we have not shown and we're not proposing because they would draw traffic unnecessarily through the neighborhoods, so we have been very sensitive to that. Thank you.
I actually also had a traffic question for you. I mean, I'm not a transportation planner, but I drive down River Road many times a day, and the 2 lanes in each direction currently there are not sufficient to carry the traffic. So without doing any study at all of increasing the density, to me it's common sense that there is going to be a traffic issue. Coming down River Road and going back, most of the day, I mean, I plan errands from about 10:30 to 11 o'clock, because then it gets busy for lunch, and from maybe 1:30 till 2:30, and then the rush hour starts. So I don't understand how increasing the density to anything near the extent you've shown could possibly result in anything other than horrible traffic.
That's partly because it's coming from development and to settle and going down the.
That's right. So there is a regional traffic component to it because traffic is coming through the area. That's certainly captured in the model when we do the analysis. Additional units will bring more trips, more vehicular trips, more traffic. But what we need to understand is that we as planners need to understand when we do the model, we have to evaluate what the congestion level is at the intersections. We'll be looking far beyond the sector plan limits, nearly all the way out to 495, out to the river, to the ICCB, the old one mapping site, and out, including Bethesda and Friendship Heights. So it is something that we'll be evaluating as we move forward.
I don't feel like that's an answer. I mean, you can evaluate it, but there is no other answer except that the traffic will increase.
With additional development, traffic does increase, yes.
There's also, right now, you know, we experienced, at least in our brief week, we experienced some issues at the Whole Foods intersection during the day. And certainly there needs to be some mitigation at that location currently. And so that is an issue. Also, one of the ideas and one of the reasons why a lot of the zoning has been changed throughout the county for the future, with the new commercial residential CR zones, is to allow a greater mix of uses throughout the county. And that greater mix of uses overall reduces trips, because it allows people to live essentially in proximity to potentially where they work, and certainly in proximity to where they might shop. And so it is not nonsense. It is a proven policy and a proven vision that has worked throughout the world, actually. And so a lot of that has to do with bringing back a mix of uses, which does help to reduce trips. Now, is it going to be a significant change here? No, probably not. But it will have some impact, certainly, the mix of uses.
As well as lots of more cars. This high-density development is going to bring lots more children into the schools. Could you please address school overcrowding and what you're doing?
Yes, so in the plan, we do realize that there will be new student generation here, and we are making certain options available in the plan. Now, it's if Montgomery County Public Schools chooses to take those options, is really up to them. However, we are showing a new elementary school site. We are showing additional land for the elementary/middle school campus so that they could have additional fields. And that we are also allowing for area to expand this school as well.
But aren't these children going to be going to class with
Again, and again, you know, so the new residents that come in here, it depends upon where they may or may not be districted to. We do have representatives here from Montgomery County Public Schools, and they had explained to us that there are a myriad of tools that they could go and use to address the new student issue when we have new development.
I will touch on that briefly, just because it was brought up about the schools, which would mean they would bus them to a further school. Therefore, getting up earlier, having different child care issues, having them later, changes school hours. That's a big concern. I've seen it done in Westchester, New York. That's where I'm originally from. My point was back to having the light industrial, removing service stations, removing gas stations from the area. You've all been familiar with downtown Bethesda. There's 3 left, and they all price gouge. You're going to leave one in this area, they'll price gouge. How's that going to keep any of the residents from acquiring the goods that they need or the services that they need to want to make this a livable area?
So again, with the new land use and zoning that we are proposing here in the sector plan, we are not precluding any of the existing uses from maintaining their existing use. This is really only making the ability for them to change an option if they choose to do so sometime in the future. They may never, and in actuality, we did listen to the community, and we did go and hear that lower heights was what people wanted around here. And one of the major factors for change is allowing for higher density and higher height. There is a certain economic calculation that needs to be made, and in order for uses to go and change, they need to go and have a certain return on their investment.
Once again, without having additional services to supplement their use. People need to get back and forth to work, they need fuel to get there. They need their vehicles to be serviced in order to get there. It's nice and easy when they can come home or come in the morning, drop their vehicle off close by their residence, have their services done, continue on about their day, and then come back and pick up their vehicle and be close to home, and it not be 9 o'clock at night before they get home. When they push out a child now brought in from the other side of the county via a school bus.
No, absolutely, and we had heard from Department of Economic Development that the light industrial use is something that needs to be preserved and enhanced. And we are showing areas, and they could be larger areas than what is shown here on this iteration of the concept framework plan. Over here in the purple are the areas that we will specifically have remain as light industrial. However, in the areas that are in the yellow that are closer to the back by Willett Branch against the Capitol Crescent Trail. Those are today light industrial and could remain light industrial.
Mark, explain what you were talking about a minute ago about economic value, economics of the Gulf area. Say that again, and its basis for it.
Sure. I mean, it's, again, in order for a landowner to make it worth their while to go and tear their building down and either sell it to a developer or to go and build a new building themselves, there has to be a significant amount of height and density in order for them to achieve a adequate return on their investment. Right, and again, so what is our concern as planners, again, is one to hear out what the landowners would like to see, but also to listen to all of you and the landowners that we did talk to, and just understanding how economics works around here. You do have to have a significant amount of height and density in order for things to change. We purposefully, in response to the community, kept the heights lower. And this is me personally, I have a sneaking suspicion, and I don't confess to be an economist. However, at the heights that are listed on this plan, it would be difficult for those numbers to really pan out and for people to really go and reinvest. But then again, that is up to the landowner, for them to go and do the pro forma, for them to go and do the mathematics and see if it's worthwhile for them to go and reinvest.
Where in the zoning board is there a return on investment?
There isn't.
There isn't.
Is my turn now? Could you please scroll back to that slide with the unit numbers? Because I'm still not clear, and if I'm not clear, I suspect some others are not. If I understand it correctly, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, under existing, those are the number of units existing in the Westbard sector area today. Holding capacity is potential theoretical expansion under the rules of the game as they are written today. What I don't understand is the proposed. Is that additional to the 1104?
Yes.
Or?
Yes.
So, okay.
Tripling the number.
Because I didn't. So what you're saying is we could be anywhere from 1.5 to twice as many units in the area.
Three times. They're tripling the density.
As much as double what's there today.
Yeah, 3 times the
If
density.
you have 1,100, you can go up to almost 2,000 more.
But the proposed is additional.
3,000.
Okay, thank you.
If I could just make a point of clarification. The reason why the holding capacity and the proposed numbers have a range of numbers is because of the way the CR zone is defined. You could use up a certain amount of commercial or residential, depending upon the ratio in which you use defines how much housing unit you could yield on a particular site. The reason why the CR zone was constructed the way it was constructed is because, again, economics change over time. In some instances, commercial is more lucrative than residential, and it was a way to provide flexibility in the zoning to meet the demands of marketplace.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for your effort in all of this, but what I would urge you, and I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir, but I hope you're keeping in mind your constituency, and who your constituency is. We are citizens.
The constituency is the developer.
Your job is to provide services for us. And you mentioned that you have these investors that have bought land. We also own land here.
Yeah.
And your job is not to maximize the profit of these people that have bought land here to develop it so that they can maximize their profit. Your job is not to maximize their profit. Your job is to provide services for us. Now, right now, we have, the citizens of Montgomery County in this area want you to protect them. And what I found, that when I leave the house, and I live in Kenwood, I drive out to Little Falls, I turn right out of Dorset, and I go down to River Road. If I leave at 6:30 in the morning, I can get through that light at River Road in Little Falls with 2 cycles. If I leave at 7, it takes me 4 or 5 cycles to get through. Now, if you are going to add density, where do these cars go? Already it's a parking lot on River Road. Now, if I leave and I go down Westbard, I get down to Massachusetts, it's the same thing, because people are trying to find other ways to go. And Massachusetts is bumper to bumper at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. So when you're adding height to maximize the profit of these investors, you're also adding cars. And the more cars you have, and every unit you have is not just 1 car. There might be 2 cars. They might have a son or a daughter who has a job somewhere else. So now you have 3 cars. So each one of these units, you're going to be adding more and more cars. It's going to be crushing. What you're doing by adding density is creating a wasteland.
All I want to say also is that if you were there this past week during the Charrette, we've had the owners of Park Bethesda came and presented their ideas for the site, and they've offered to build buildings at up to 120 and 200 feet tall, 250 feet tall. We have suggested that that would not be acceptable, so they are not going to be able, under this plan, to maximize the profit that they would have liked to have seen. We have also heard from some of the other developers on the site about heights, and they have all suggested heights far exceeding what we are proposing here. So we have tried to take the information that we have been given from not only property owners, but also from the citizens during the last week to come up with a plan that we think can build consensus between the owners that are there today and the residents. That is what we've been trying to do for over the last week. And so in the low number that you see here in the 1,600, that is taking into consideration the lower heights that we are proposing. Currently, the zoning allows basically 45 feet height throughout. And in most of the site, in the lower scheme, in the lower density scheme, we are proposing 50 feet throughout, with some, well, not even some exceptions. So there is, by allowing the difference in zoning, by allowing the mix of uses in the housing and the retail, you get up to the 1,600 number. I believe that was the low number that we had. And so it's very close to the zoning today. It's very close to the heights today. And so I think we've worked pretty hard to try not to maximize the profit for the certain owners that are on the site.
That's still a 250% increase in size. This is put the thing in perspective. Two other questions. The big issue that you're talking about is traffic. When I started first living here and traveled into DC, it took me about 22 minutes. When I retired 5 years ago, it was taking me almost 45 minutes to get down, and I go down Mass Ave. God knows what would be going down the road. So that's just the traffic today. And yes, you can see it's coming from other places. That traffic is not going to change. Number two, you never talked about parking. where people are gonna park in order to go to these wonderful stores.
Yeah.
And for three, you've got the idiot planners who decided on Seymour and built those huge turns, that you almost have to turn into the opposite lane in order to get around the corner. You've got problems. Who's doing it? Obviously, it's the planning group, and they don't know what they're doing, and they've never driven a car in their lives to understand what they're doing.
I had a couple of comments and questions, and one I think was posed more eloquently by my colleague before. And the simple question that I had is, who is driving this change? We're all pretty happy. At any rate, now I understand that it's a developer, so we have some private sector investments involved in this, because quite frankly, it starts to feel like a fait accompli. It starts to feel like we are driving down a road that is going to lead to some version, either Scheme 1, Scheme 2, maybe Scheme 5. Something is going to happen tremendously. So the questions I had is, we've talked just a very little bit about elementary and middle schools, but there's an equally huge issue with high school, with the Whitman and BCC, and that has not been considered, or at least mentioned this evening. The second point I have is that we all love the current stores that are there. We love the dry cleaner, we love the toy store, we love being able to run into Giant at all hours of the night. So what provisions are being made to secure the future of those small shop owners, the pet store, etc.? And the final point that I have, or question that I have, is if we all got on board and this all went ahead, how long are we talking about this transformation taking? Is this a 5-year project? Is it 15? Is it 20? Can you give us some scheme for how long we're going to be living through transition?
Let me try to go and remember all of the questions. So, with regards to the plan and the developers and how we go through this process, and I mentioned this to many of the folks who were here, who followed us throughout the charrette. The planning process, and the sector plan process, is really listening to kind of 3 different forces that are pulling on each other. It is listening to the citizens who live here. It is hearing the requests of the landowners who have a fiduciary interest, and it is balanced by what we as professional planners know as good planning principles and planning theory. And somewhere between the community, landowners, and the planning concepts is the solution, somewhere between those 3, somewhere in the middle. Going back to the sector plan and the developer, we've heard from many people here, many landowners, but really only 2 had strong discussions about redevelopment, namely Equity One and Park Bethesda. And if they were to come in today and submit a plan for redevelopment, they would be coming in and submitting with a 32-year-old sector plan. They have to conform to that 32-year-old sector plan. Sector plans typically only have a lifespan of 20 years. And the older a sector plan gets, the less relevant, the less weight, the less ability the planning board and the other regulators have to defend it. Right now, it's by modern standards, it's a pretty weak sector plan. And therefore, it does not have all the things that we've learned over these past 32 years in terms of good planning principles and planning policy. So they could come in and go and develop under the 45-foot scheme that's in there. But they could essentially go and throw the clay around however which way they want. There's really no good controls. And we would end up potentially with the same kind of 1960s, 1970s type strip mall construction. And I don't know about you, but driving down Westbard Avenue and seeing pretty much loading docks as I go down there is not necessarily the nicest thing in the world to go and see. So, so trying to go and get that sense of place, finding a better identity, making a better type of community design is what we're trying to go and achieve through this plan. With regards to schools, again, MCPS is here to answer those specific questions. We did look at middle school and elementary school. A high school in this area is far too large of a facility to site in Westbard. It would take up half the plan. They're just that big. And the requirements for high schools just keep growing every year. So I know it's probably not a question that, it's probably not an answer to your question, but that is a regional issue.
So the other two questions I believe that I had written down that you had was, what about the loss of current stores if the development were to go through in full force today? We have no control over what store goes in any building, whether it's grocery or any kind of retail stores. We don't have no control over that, and so that's really up to the individual property owner or developer as they come in to make that choice to put whatever store, whether they retain the stores that are there today. And I know that talking with Equity One over the last week, they've definitely been hearing from a lot of people about trying to make sure that happens. But we have no control over that, and I think it's something that Equity One has to address as they continue their planning process for the giant site. In terms of timing, if this plan were to go through now, in terms of timing, the sector plan, we have March, April, May is really the time that we're shooting for to come out with any kind of draft recommendations on our end. Beyond that, then it would go to the county council for their review. In terms of any kind of approvals for a plan, we're talking next year, probably a year and a half, in terms of the timing for a sector plan. Beyond that, it's up to any property owner or developer to file plans for whatever the proposal is. And that's really based on the market. But in terms of timing, this is a 20-year plan that we're looking at. It's not a 1 or 2 year plan. So I hope that answers the question, or the questions that you have.
Wow, I would say this is my worst nightmare. I was going to thank you guys for your time. Obviously, you worked really, really hard on this. 7 in the morning to 9 at night, 5 days a week was exhausting for everyone. I live in Somerset. I am squeezed out by high density everywhere. Bethesda's coming this way, Friendship Heights comes this way, and now apartments are coming this way. Tripling the density from Westbard is just bringing more and more people into my little 400 family community. There's just no way. You're putting another road on River Road, people are just going to go up Dorset. I was hoping that this new sector plan would replace some of the parking lots and some of the impervious surface with more green space, with more parks, with more open space. You're adding 1,600 more units. Where are those people going to play? So all I've seen now is that you've replaced the parking lots with big buildings. So I would like to see the plan. Where are the new parks, and to see how much more green space has been added besides the high school, the middle school.
Yeah, the new open spaces within the plan are the plaza in front of the library in the middle of the development where the giant
Can you
is.
point to that tiny dot on the screen? Yeah, that's the new.
That area
open
right
space.
there. We are also proposing the potential redevelopment of the school site with the field And then the Willet Branch daylighting is also part of this scheme, which goes all the way through there and allows for trails and hopefully beautification of the landscape as well to connect all the way over to the
And
falls.
where would the money for the daylighting of Willett Branch come from?
Probably from development fees.
Because right now, I know that American Plant Food parking lot goes over,
Yes.
and it's 40 feet of wall or space filled so that it fills in the whole valley. So that would be a requirement for the new developer to take all that out?
Currently,
I mean, that's the one.
they've built over or it's built over at that point, it's in a tunnel. The water,
Right.
the branch goes through the tunnel. If they were to redevelop, they would have to set back from the floodplain, which would,
And are you calling for a 100-foot setback?
that's what it is today on each side. And so currently, the roofing company and the nursery go over that. Everywhere else is pretty much daylit, but it's a mess also in there. It's a kind of a garbage pit, if you
And how
will.
about on Butler Road? Are they gonna, you're required that to daylight also?
That would be ideal, but I'm not sure if that would happen, but it's covered at that point too, yes, currently.